Hey, I'm Cam Day. Welcome to the channel and to today's video. It's a pleasure to have you. I hope you're doing okay, and I'm just glad we can all be in the same place together for a few minutes, you know? Just chillax. So, as you know, we're going through some empties that I've used up. That's why they're empty. Skincare specifically. So this is all in the last, I want to say like 6 to 9 months, and I just have to say, I'm not an expert, especially when it comes to skincare. I'm always willing to try things, and I've been super into learning about ingredients and all of that kind of stuff. However, I have a lot to learn, and I'm very impatient when it comes to skincare. Unfortunately, too impatient. So that's something I'm aware of, it's something I'm working on, but please don't take any of my experiences, opinions as recommendations or anything like that. I definitely recommend you doing your own research and talking to experts if that's something that you really feel that you need for any skin concern you may have. But I'm just going to share with you the products that I've tried and my experience with them, and hopefully, especially if you've had your eye on some of these products, maybe this will help kind of paint a picture for you based on, you know, what I'm working with. And that's what I think is pretty standard combination skin, but it's pretty dehydrated right now. But in the time that I've had all of these products, my skin has gone through a lot of changes, and a lot of it is environmental, a lot of it is hormonal, a lot of it is just everything in between. So I can't really attest or attribute any successes or failures as far as like my skin health and glowiness or whatever things I've been trying to achieve to any of these products necessarily, or any of my current products for that matter. My skin's a mess. It's all over the place, and I'm not consistent enough with literally any of those factors in my life to really say that doing this has caused this or not doing this has caused this. So just know I'm trying to take a more scientific approach to that so that I can be really tailoring and being mindful of my experience and just giving my skin what it needs. I don't know, but take it with a grain of salt, okay? I'm gonna walk you through kind of like I would a regular skincare routine, because I think I kind of have one of each category. So we'll start with cleansers, and the first being an oil balm cleanser. Enter the Ordinary Squalane Cleanser. I got this a few months ago, and I just really wanted to be better about double cleansing, especially when I do videos. I try and do more makeup looks, and I just wanted to be more mindful that I was really getting a good cleanse on my skin, thinking that that was something that was causing my skin to maybe break out a little bit more if I wasn't getting a really good cleanse. So I wanted to incorporate an oil cleanser of sorts, and this was the first one that I've tried in a long time, and it was okay. To be honest with you, I have a little secret. It's not fully empty. I have probably like this much left. I bought another different oil cleanser as a backup before this one ran out, and I just haven't looked back. I bought it because I've heard good things, and because the price point is just like really hard to beat. It's $7.90, I think, for this this package. And as an oil cleanser, I don't really think you need a lot. A little goes a long way, and it's 1.7 ounces. It's pretty decent, and I just didn't want to try anything that was too expensive, especially as a cleanser. I don't invest a lot of money in cleansers because they're not meant to spend a lot of time on your face anyway. So my one thing, and the reason I stopped using this was because, and this is all kind of like an assumption slash sort of informed deduction, that it has an element of coconut oil in it. One of the ingredients is, I think, a derivative of coconut oil. I can kind of smell it when I use it. It smells nice, but I know that my skin does not like coconut oil and usually clogs my pores. So I do think that that was actually happening when I was using this, even though I was following up with a foaming cleanser to really get that first layer off. I just think that it didn't do anything good for my skin. My skin didn't like it, and I did feel like there was a little bit left over that kind of sat in my pores. So that was really it. It's the coconut oil for me that I just don't really mess with. It's not my jam. So that's that. I will use this up eventually, I think. But I definitely prefer more liquidy oil cleansers, not balms, at least not this one. So I definitely won't be repurchasing. I'm glad that I tried it, and for the price point, again, at, you know, around $8, I don't feel like I made too much of a financial risk in trying it, and it was okay. No. Next up, and what was part of this double cleanse system, is this DermaE Hydrating Gentle Cleanser. For having this for a while, since it is 6 ounces and it lasted me a really good chunk of time, I want to say at least 6 months, and I was using it very regularly, especially as I was doing multiple makeup looks in a day. It wasn't as hydrating as I thought it was gonna be. Now, again, that could totally be because my skin is a lot more dry or dehydrated than I think it is or thought it was, but there were times when I would use it and my skin would feel kind of dry. So that's the only takeaway. I really enjoyed it for other reasons. I like the texture of it. I like the way it smells. It's super gentle. It's not overpowering, and I'm super sensitive to smell. And I like the ethos of the brand. I like that it's ethical beauty. They say it on their packaging, and I do kind of believe that from DermaE. It's GMO, cruelty, gluten and soy free. The packaging is recyclable, and it's 100% vegan, so that's cool. Nobody's getting hurt, hopefully, in all of this. And again, it was a great amount of product. I did feel okay using it all up. It wasn't painful to stretch out the life of it, and I wasn't just finishing it to finish it, but I did feel dry at times. So I maybe would recommend it for more oily prone people or oily skin people, just because yes, it's hydrating and it's gentle. It doesn't feel really rough or harshly dry afterward, but as someone with combination and maybe more dry leaning skin right now in this season of my life, it did feel a little bit dry at times, but not anything that a moisturizer or something after that's hydrating couldn't fix. I like the way it foams. It wasn't overpowering. It was a good makeup remover. So would I repurchase? Just as a general rule for myself, it's hard for me to find a cleanser that I would repurchase because I want to try as many as I possibly can, and also again understanding that my skin needs change and just my needs as far as like if I'm in a heavy makeup wearing season of my life or whatever, like it all changes. And a morning cleanse versus an evening cleanse, it's all pretty fluid for me. And because cleansers are not meant to spend a lot of time on your face, I have a certain little list of criteria that I want it to be, and if it checks that box and if it works with the rest of my routine, then cool. But like, I don't really have a lot invested in those cleansers, at least not yet. I haven't met one that's changed the game for me. So this was a great price point. I found it at a grocery store actually. It's really accessible, that's what I like about it. But it was like, okay, I would recommend someone try it, but I definitely don't think I'll be repurchasing it anytime soon. Next up is this chemical exfoliant. It's called Solution from Glossier. Me and Solution go way back, basically ever since she launched and came into this world. A few years ago, I've gone through many bottles. Maybe that's part of the reason why I'm still holding on to it, just because I have that like sentimental investment in it, because it was one of the first products that I used that really did something for my skin. But my skin has changed a lot since I've used it, and there was a period of time where I was using it very consistently, and that only lasted for a certain amount of time. You know, my skin was just kind of like, and I'm over it. So I use this more on an intermittent level. If anything, the most consistently I'll use it is at least once a week. Also just because I feel like I was over exfoliating my skin at one point, but it is a 10% AHA, BHA, and PHA, all of these acids that help to break down dead and dirty skin cells, kind of slough them off, which means any hyperpigmentation, the discoloration, any acne scars, it would help break those down and get rid of them, even out skin tone, but also not dry out your skin. So it had a little bit of a hydrating effect, but ultimately it has salicylic acid in it. So it's deemed as an acne treatment, and I really loved using it when I was breaking out and also to prevent future breakouts. I think she's great. I realize that there are a lot of other chemical exfoliants that are competitors out there. Like I know the Paula's Choice BHA solution I think is really popular these days. I don't really have experience with any other one because I've always used this, and it definitely is influenced because I worked at the Glossier LA store for a few years and would always just go back to this when I needed to re-up. And I actually do have a couple left over that now that this one's empty, I have another one in rotation. I'm not in a mood or in a place to replace it with something else. I don't feel the need to spend the money on something different because it does what I need her to do. And I leave it at that. So she has a very special place in my heart. I absolutely love the packaging. I love the pump functionality of it. That's one of my favorite components on any skincare product, but it does a great job. My main thing is don't over exfoliate your skin, and yeah, give her a try. Next up is this 10% niacinamide serum from Maelove. I got this in one of their like intro trio sets that included their vitamin C serum and their hyaluronic acid. This was the first one that I finished, and I don't know how I feel about it. I do know how I feel about the brand. I highly recommend you taking a minute to look up Maelove. I just really love what they're about. They're a small company. They create their products in small batches. They love science and they hate waste. So they don't have, 100 different product options. They have a very simple yet effective and intentional amount of products. And that's just very evident, and I just really admire that about them. And it just feels, I think, yeah, intentional is the word. Intentional skincare. It's there to help meet needs and not create more problems and an over excess of products and options. I just think they're great. However, using this serum, I wasn't sure if anything was happening to my skin. Now, niacinamide in general, I think depending on kind of what you're dealing with, for me, especially more recently and more consistently, I was dealing with some redness. I did have some little bumps, not necessarily like an allergic reaction, but just I think from the foods that I was eating and every other thing that could affect your skin. And when I did have actual pimples and breakouts that were really red, niacinamide is there to help kind of calm the skin, especially calm redness and just reduce any inflammation. I never really noticed like a giant difference. But then again, I was doing a lot of things to my skin that wasn't really helpful. Like I said, I might have been over exfoliating. I was definitely picking at my skin, so there were some things that were just gonna be red for a while. I liked the action of using this. The formula itself was kind of a stickier formula. It's kind of got a milky finish to it. It's not super serumy and super fluid, but I like the milkiness of it because when you apply it, yes, it feels kind of sticky at first and you got to give it some time to dry, but that stickiness is really good for your moisturizer and anything else that you put on top to kind of stick to it and hold it onto your face. So it was a good user experience, but I could use it morning and night. It was really gentle. I just don't know if it did anything to my skin. But I also wasn't tracking it super seriously. Like I said at the beginning, I was not taking much of a scientific approach to my skincare. I've been super emotional with my skin, so I don't know. We're not always on the best terms, and I feel bad that my skincare kind of gets the brunt of it because I want to blame that when I really only have myself to blame. So if you want a niacinamide, check out Maelove because they're a beautiful brand, but that's kind of all I got for you. Lastly, and my mouth is getting dry, I feel like I'm talking up a storm here. Here you go, folks. What everybody's been obsessing over, CeraVe. It's the daily moisturizing lotion. I got this at the top of quarantine because I had just run out of a moisturizer and it was around the beginning of summer. So I didn't want to have something that was too thick because when it's warmer, my skin gets oilier, especially when I sweat. There's just a lot more happening, and I wanted to keep my skin hydrated without it being imbalanced or like overly greasy or anything. So I thought, based on what I'd heard, what I'd seen, what I'd read, this would be a great option. And again, it was a great price point. I think when I got this, I had to go through, I think, Derm store because the CVS's around me, the Targets, even like Ulta online, they were all sold out because everyone had the same idea. Trendy, you know. I got this on Derm store. I want to say it was like $12. I was happy to get it. I liked that I could use it on my face and my body, and it was gonna last me a while. Again, trying to adopt this more conservative financial spending habits. This was definitely one of those. Cause you know, you could get a moisturizer that's like 1 ounce for like $30. And this is 12 ounces for $12. And I've heard that the ingredients are pretty decent. So I've tried it, I've used it, again, face and body. Another one of those things that was just like, okay, she's there. I would definitely consider it a no fuss product. I like that it's a really thin texture. It's nice and smooth, but it's not too sticky. It doesn't have a lot of residue left over. And it wasn't thin enough that it didn't feel like it was doing anything. I like that it's not scented. That's really important for me. And especially as someone with acne prone skin and someone who picks at their skin, for the longest time, I had in my mind that I couldn't put moisturizer where I get oily or where I have breakouts because I feel like it would just make it worse. But I think on a higher level, what's really important is to keep my whole skin hydrated and balanced so that I could maybe minimize those breakouts and that imbalance in my skin. So this was a product that I used for the first time everywhere, because most of the time I would just kind of spot treat where I felt I was driest. Again, identifying more as a combination skin person. All of that to say, it was okay. Like a solid 6, maybe 7 in experience. The pros, like I said, is the size and the price and the ingredients. They're pretty straightforward. But what I wish I got more from it was a little more of an after effect. Like when I put it on, it would just absorb into my skin, and maybe that's speaking to its dehydrated or dryness. But she was there and she was gone. Like she showed up for work, she punched her punch card, and she left as soon as the clock hit 5, you know? Like she was like, I'm here, I'm done. What I think I realized I wanted out of a moisturizer is something, again, that's no fuss, that has fairly simple ingredients, that isn't super scented and whatever, but I wanted it to have a nice thin consistency, but maybe have a little more of an emollient texture to it, meaning it's gonna have a little more of like a creaminess that might leave a little bit of a barrier or a sheen behind. I don't want to be crazy dewy, crazy glowy. I don't need to be like a juicy dumpling all the time, although that's nice. I'm still figuring out what my skin needs, but I need it to be more than just into my skin and gone. I want it to create a little bit more of a barrier, I think, and maybe I need a separate product to put on top of it. I'm still in my search, but it was okay. I used it on my body, it was the same thing. I just feel like it was just absorbing it. I wasn't crusty, it helped solve my ashiness, but it's like, but I want to say about like 3/4 of the way of using this. I did end up trying the daily moisturizing cream that's a little thicker in texture, and it came in the bigger tube. It was like a squeeze bottle. I still have it. I used it more on my body because I tried it on my face, but it almost has this like waxy texture to it. I feel like it almost had the opposite effect where it didn't feel like it was really going into my skin. Although it did, it also didn't leave behind much of a texture once it was actually applied to my skin, but it was just like thick and I don't know, just not a fun user experience, which it's really not supposed to. I realize it's a moisturizer, but I needed it to be a little more creamy, a little more sensual, have a little bit more feeling behind it. Be like, you know what? I'm gonna get to the root of it. I'm gonna get you hydrated, but I'm also gonna moisturize the top layer. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a glow. We're not gonna go crazy, but you're gonna look like you just added life to your skin. This was like, we're keeping you alive, but that's it. So I'm sure you're dying to know, will I repurchase? After that glowing review, I didn't hate it. I think CeraVe is definitely onto something. They've been around for a very long time, and I'm glad that people are aware, myself included, of a really great affordable option. And yes, they have other different products to try. I think their cleansers are nice, but it's like, it just didn't do a lot for me. So I like that it was consistent, but it helped me realize what I was looking for. You know, it was like a good thank you next experience. So probably not. Same thing with the cleansers. Basically a lot of my skincare. Unless I find something that's really game-changing, I'm gonna keep trying different things and compare them to each other because it helps me figure out what I need more for myself and help share my experiences and hopefully help you figure out what you need. But honestly, I feel like I've been all over the place and don't know what you're getting out of this, but I'm happy you're here. So that concludes it. Again, that felt really long-winded, and it probably was, but I hope you were able to get some insight from my expert opinion on these products. There are a handful that I think if you have a different skin type profile than me might be a little more effective, or you just might have a better tolerance for, but there's nothing that I wouldn't recommend. Nothing that ruined my skin, nothing that I just didn't enjoy at all. Most of it was like pretty decent to okay, or okay to pretty decent, you know? I want to give it its credit, but it was all right. The main theme throughout all of these products though is the price point. I do think the most expensive thing was probably the Maelove serum or maybe the Glossier solution. These are both in the like mid-20s, $20 range, but that was the most expensive. And I think your serums should cost a little bit more, like more than a $7 cleanser. but they don't, like, once they get up into the $60, $80, $100 range, just check. Like, I don't think they need to be that expensive, in my experience. That's all I'm saying. Again, I'm just navigating this space, as I know you are as well, and also just really trying to be in tune with my body. And I know a lot of it comes from within, so that means stress levels, that means how many nutrients I'm getting a day, how much water I'm drinking, how much sleep I'm getting. Like, there's so much that goes into what our bodies need and how that shows on our skin, let alone what you're putting on your skin, how often you're washing your towels and your bedding and your phone. Like, there's just a lot that we need to be paying attention to. So that does make my skincare experience feel a little chaotic, because there are so many different things that it could be. Add in hormones just for fun. But that's also a reminder to you that there are certain things that you can look to and maybe pay attention to before you go looking for a brand new routine. I think there are some things that you can do that don't necessarily cost that much money, that don't necessarily require that much trial and error and waste of products and things like that, where it just might take a little more self-discipline and some time. I'm really speaking to myself, because that's so true to where I am in my journey right now. Anywho, that's all I have for you, beautiful people. Thank you so much, as always, for hanging in and hearing me ramble. I hope that you were able to get whatever you needed out of this, and maybe get a little bit more insight into some products that you were curious about, or a different experience of something that you've used yourself. If you have any questions or any feedback, please, as always, let me know down in the comments. I'm so curious to see what you have to say and what you want to know more about. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Turn on the little notification bell if it does something for you, because it'll definitely do something for me. Consider it. Thank you so much. Every little gesture is so important and means so much, so thank you. It helps us grow and make more of these videos possible. So thank you in advance. I love you. Take a deep breath. Not everything can be solved with a product that you put on your face, but that also doesn't mean abandon your routines. For me, the routine is actually very calming and I enjoy it, but your happiness and your beauty don't rely on the products that you have or your shelfie and how many you have, but also, you know, just listen to yourself. And it's crazy amazing how good our skin and our body's systems are at telling us what our skin needs. So just before you go buying a new product, if you feel like you're having an issue or if you're feeling frustrated, just remind yourself to take a deep breath. You're beautiful. Your worth is not in the condition of your skin. And kind of take a look within and check to see, have I been sleeping enough? Have I been eating totally junk processed foods? Do a little inventory and then see what you need. And then, like, of course, go ahead, buy the thing if that's what you want and if it makes you happy. But take a couple of steps before you do that. It might make your experience a little bit better. Again, really a reminder for myself. I love you all. Please take care, be well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.